Yeah. Hi, Aminu. Thank you so much for coming on the episode. Fun fact, you guys, I met Aminu via Twitter. So you can follow Aminu's Twitter account. He's always dropping nuggets and gems. So when I saw his nugget, I'm like, who's this smart person? And I hit the follow button.
Oh, Aramide, great to meet you and good to be here.
Yes. So I'm just going to read your bio and we'll get started with the Q&A. In case you were wondering why I was peeping into your LinkedIn, because LinkedIn does not know how to keep quiet. I was just trying to prepare for this session. Guys, Aminu is a finance leader and chartered accountant with 18 years experience across commercial banking, treasury management and credit analysis, with a track record of managing multi-million dollar portfolios across Africa and Europe. Over this period, Aminu has structured complex deals and managed risk in project finance and liquidity, FX, and cash. Currently, Aminu leads the treasury function at an indigenous crude oil exploration and production company. Before now, he led different commercial banking teams at GT Bank, where he was recognized as the most outstanding staff back in 2015. Aminu is a chartered accountant of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. He holds an MBA and BSc in accounting from Ahmadu Bello University and University of Abuja respectively. He has attended courses at various institutions locally and internationally. Outside of work, Aminu likes the company of his extended family and friends, loves to drive and mentor young professionals in banking and finance. Wow, so powerful. I told you
That's
guys that Aminu loves his gems. I always look out for his gems. So, welcome to Careers in Accounting again, Aminu.
Thank you very much, Aramide, and thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Awesome. So
Yep.
let's just go right into the Q&A. Obviously, you studied accounting in uni for your bachelor's, and I'm curious, right,
Yeah.
about your career journey. Because when I went through your LinkedIn, I noticed that you started your career, I think, right off or almost immediately in banking, and now you are in oil and gas. So tell us about your career journey, how you got started, why accounting, and just lead us from after school to where you are now.
Oh, great again. Thanks for having me. I'll start with the second question. Why accounting? And why not accounting? I would say really, it hasn't always been accounting. When I finished or when I was going into secondary school, I had a science background. And part of those kids that would always wanted to save humanity, I wanted to be a doctor, like almost every kid, actually. Somehow, I would say it quite didn't work out, but went on to do commercial classes in senior secondary school. Somehow, I just like figures, right?
Mm.
And going out of secondary school, I wanted to be an economist. I was always fascinated and loved how people wear suits, central banking kind of thing. And I was really interested. So I wanted to study accounting. And a friend said, oh, I mean, economics. A friend said, if you study economics, you're going to be a lecturer. And I was like, no way. But next option was okay, my choice of school would be first economics, second accounting, and it was accounting that clicked. And I didn't want to just stay at home. I was like, okay, pick it, and that's how I got into accounting. But while I was studying accounting, it was actually banking that made sense. Then GT Bank was everywhere. It was rave of the town, fine branches here and there, and all of that. Standard Chartered too was fantastic. So it was banking I really wanted to do. And I was lucky. I got into banking immediately after I graduated and did my service. There, did maybe a year and a half in FCMB. then eventually got into GT Bank, where I would say I spent almost all my career prior to where I am now. But somehow at GT Bank, I just needed to pivot. I needed to be somewhere, right? And I thought it was it was time I just moved. And this opportunity came and I took it. So that's how the journey started. Just basically that, yeah.
Thank you so much. So your career in banking, we're going to zoom in a little bit because I've met different people who have worked in the bank, and what I find is a lot of them get stuck. So you have managed to build a career in banking, and when I was looking at your resume, maybe I'm not familiar with banking, but you were not in treasury, you were in commercial banking, and now you lead treasury. So that got me a little puzzled. How did you do it in terms from commercial banking? I'm trying to spy into your LinkedIn now, by the way, so that I'm asking the right questions. But I was
Yeah.
just looking at your profile and I was like, how is this even possible? Because a lot of people don't know what is possible, right? You started as an account officer, credit and marketing at FCMB. And then you moved into commercial banking where you were in commercial banking almost through your career at GTB. And now you lead treasury. But you are not in treasury in the bank. So please walk us
Yeah.
through that journey.
So I wasn't. I had accounting background. I studied accounting at university, and accounting just gives you this kind of versatility, right? It makes you versatile. I believe it's people say is the language of business. So I just believe if you are relatively okay, if you're reasonably good in accounting, you can just go anywhere in finance, actually. Shortly after I got into GT Bank, the team I was posted into had one of my classmates. And by the time I joined back in 2009, he had already qualified.
Mhm.
And he was like, how far I can, are you going to do something? I was like, no, I'm a banker. This sharp pushed me and I did it. And actually it became very rewarding, right? So while I was in commercial banking at GT Bank, I had developed competence in credit analysis as well as structuring trade transactions, right?
Mhm.
I was a facilitator in their training school. From time to time, I still go there and lecture, right? So that somehow gave me some level of confidence to explore the technical side of things
Mhm.
as well as do my job, which was basically just marketing. That's what it was. Speaking to corporate clients, structuring transaction, managing their finances and things like that, right? So while there, I was also developing my competencies, of course, doing financial modeling, accounting by the sides, and other things. And then one day, a sister group was managing this company where I currently am. And a call came that they needed someone who was very good at credit analysis and risk management. And I got referred.
Wow.
By the time I came in, I had the conversation with them. It made sense. I
Mm.
was getting older. Banking was becoming very interesting, much more interesting. I needed maybe the pay and also different experience. So it wasn't really difficult moving into treasury. And basically, there are interplays between banking and treasury,
Yeah.
if you understand what I mean, right? And also the accounting part complements what you do. So basically, what we do these days is to manage liquidity. What do we have? What do we need to get, right? To manage our FX risks and ensuring that we have money when we need to make payment and things like that. And also when you have relationship with other financial institution banks, you can come in and speak from that angle in terms of transactions that the company is trying to close and things like that. So from coming from that background,
Mm.
with accounting technical knowledge as well as experience in banking, it made transition a little bit easy, right? But of course, having almost made an entire pivot from banking to now back office, one just needed to again bring himself down and learn all over again. And that's how it was.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to hear like your career journey because I remember back in the days, even when I thought about being in banking, I served in Oceanic Bank. It's the advice was like, if you're an accountant coming into the bank, the only place where you can really make an impact, grow your career is Treasury, FinCon, or internal audits. Outside of that, if you did marketing, it's a no-no. But
Yeah.
from hearing your story, it means that it is possible.
Yeah, and you know,
And
you're absolutely right. When I got my first posting, luckily enough, I got just 2 weeks into the end of my NYSC, I got my FinBank, which is now FCMB offer, and I was posted into operations, right? And as a branch officer, I was meant to be doing operations, but it was a new branch. So the team, they are resident control officers, we are auditors. So my background, I was like, okay, I think you should be in audit. All right. And I did that for maybe a week or so, and I didn't like it at all. It felt like a policeman job. I just could not do that. So I said, no way, I was not going to do this. And I was then moved to marketing, try it. I tried marketing too. It wasn't interesting at first, but then I now move into corporate marketing, like corporate banking kind of thing at FCMB. And it was very interesting because that gave me the opportunity to sit with decision makers,
right,
people, discuss their challenges, then write notes that go back to the branch and said, "Okay, this is what we need to do for this person. This is what we think can resolve his problem." And from that perspective, it became very interesting. And after that, again, I was referred to GT Bank a year
wow.
after that. And by the time I got to GT Bank, it wasn't easy at first because I mean GT was or is still a very tough place to be, right? But again, I just wanted to learn. So I stayed there and put my head down too, and I learned it, right? But the most interesting part was that while we're credit officers, it wasn't just go bring money, which is what I think sets some bankers from others. Some
Mm.
marketers, it's just about go bring money and then they go to the relatives or friends and start to plead, please help me, they will sack me, this kind of thing, right? But the training we had was that no, you always come in from a sector angle where you would add value, right? You tell someone, these are the challenges I think you have. This is what I think the bank can do. We can support your expansion and things like that. There would always be value. And from that perspective, it continuously become easy. Of course, again, I would say I was kind of lucky enough to participate in some good transactions that also broadened and expanded my intellectual curiosity that led me into proper accounting on the side while I was at GT Bank. So to be honest with you, I think anything is possible, irrespective of whether I mean accounting, you are in FinCon or audit or wherever or marketing. I think anything is possible. So what's most interesting or what is most important is to ensure that that curiosity is there and the willingness to learn and have the open mind to explore other things is there. The moment you have that, I believe, I mean, you can move to any other sector, honestly. That's what my experience has taught me so far.
Quite high opening. And what I hear you say is having a growth mindset is very important and believing in your abilities, knowing what you don't know, and sitting down to learn what you don't know instead of
Yeah.
deceiving yourself. So, you spent most of your career in GTB and you said it was a tough environment. So, what made your stay in GTB worthwhile? When I look at your resume, you've only worked in 3 places in a generation that everybody is saying be moving every 2 years.
Yes.
So why did you stay that long?
Sorry. I mean to be to be honest, looking back now, I would say somewhat maybe I wish I had moved earlier. I mean, but we're human beings. I'm sure I would have stayed even longer in GT Bank
Yeah,
because it was something I was really doing what I liked. And anybody that knows me or knew me knows today that even today I can actually go back to banking, right? It's something that I'm very passionate about. I like the fact that I meet people, I discuss things, and I try to bring solutions, and then those solutions actually work. That's one
yeah,
thing that I really like. From that angle, it was very interesting. It was difficult, my stay at GT Bank, because it was a place that was, I would say, somewhat merit driven and a very professionally demanding environment in terms of deliverables, in terms of workload, in terms of other things. While we're in the bank, it's about this time that proper work will start. This is when you start
mm,
writing your credits. This is when you start reviewing requests. This is when you start planning for the next day, drafting report and things like that. So from that perspective, it was difficult, but it was interesting because it was a learning ground. You're always learning. There are new things. There are people that had been in the bank for 20 years, 35 years. I mean, you
mhm,
see someone coming from a very young age till their late 40s or even early 50s and just one place. And I thought, okay, for as long as I continue to learn, I would stay here. And it just gave me that intellectual satisfaction, if I may say. But as I continued to do it, I kept getting opportunities, and I think it was just okay for me to explore the other side.
try
You
something
one
else.
really one really doesn't know what will happen, and I felt this was good. What I'm doing now, because it's almost like a complete reversal of my view in terms of this is more or less like a back office kind of role, while I was coming from a front office client facing kind of some
You are now
position. So
client.
yeah, so from this perspective, I'm now the client, and it is very interesting when people from various banks, I get to talk to banks, at least top four banks here and in Africa and maybe in Europe, virtually daily. So from that perspective, I find it also very interesting. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Aminu. Even I am learning a lot from the conversation. I think I learn a lot more than even the people watching because just listening to different people's career journeys, very interesting about what is possible when you believe, when you try. And one of the reasons why I set up this whole thing was to demystify a lot of things because someone somewhere is in a bank right now, they're in operations, they're in marketing, and they're like, I've veered off from what I studied. But what I hear from your story is you found what you enjoyed and you were okay to continue doing it as long as you were learning. I have been in my job for about 8 years plus. But like you said, if you're learning and you are well compensated, why not? You
Yeah.
know, but that does not preclude you from trying other paths if an opportunity comes up that you find interesting. So now you are in Treasury. What does your typical day look like? What does a Treasury lead in an E&P company? What do they do on a day-to-day basis? Give us some insight into what your day looks like.
Very interesting. So my day typically starts, I would say, a little bit early. Um, I mean, on the personal side, of course. After all the things that one does personally, then you now tend to come into the professional side. And when I come to work, the first thing I usually do is to go into central bank website. I would always go there first. I would see what is our currency doing, any news that I need to learn, any circular that is out that has been issued to banks that I'm not aware. The moment I have that, I quickly turn in the news. I want to hear all that is happening in financial markets. I want to know what is happening, where is the market going, what is happening with FX and things like that. I do this just to try to get news, things that could have impacts on my day, right? On my job in terms of managing liquidity and FX and things like that. And after that, I think most time the third thing I do is to start logging into all the banks' portals, right? We have the platform that will reveal all our very many accounts across banks and try to see, okay, if I need to honor this obligation, I can quickly use this bank. If I need to honor that obligation, this is the bank I should use. I'm opening with X amount of dollars here and X amount of naira. So based on this, I should be able to accommodate Y amount of obligation as at today. That kind of thing is how the day typically starts. And then you also want to start asking the team, okay, do we have any transaction that didn't go through? We had given instructions for the banks to pay this person, that person. Has that happened or we have any issues? And from there is usually just as the day goes, right? Maybe you just quickly take a coffee. I'm not a coffee person, I do tea, and the day continues from there. Yeah.
Interesting. So it sounds to me like information is really the meat of your work, making
Yes,
sure that you
information.
have the right information at the right time.
Yes, it's key because for most days, because of the nature of our business, we're having to convert currencies, right? From, I mean, majorly from dollars to naira and things like that. So you want to make sure you have all the necessary information that could impact this movement, perhaps even for the next foreseeable future. And also that because you deal with so many people, so many suppliers, and so many obligations, you want to make sure that if you're trying to pay someone, you are not violating any circular that is in existence, or you are not doing anything that would
Mhm.
stall that transaction from sailing through. So those first few hours is basically just to gather as much information as one can get. And the moment you have that, you are armed to face the day, and whatever thing comes up, you face it with much more confidence.
Thank you so much. I'm learning too. So, in terms of skills, right? And because you've pivoted from banking to treasury, so maybe you're going to be telling us the skill sets that are required for both, and if there's an overlap. What are some of the hard skills, the technical skills that are required for success, both technical and soft skills that are required to be successful as a commercial, as a corporate banker, and now as a treasury lead? So maybe you want to start from the banking angle. We get two in one.
Yes, maybe I've left banking now for about 7 years. It's possible some of the skills that I required
Seven
have
years?
yes, I've left
Oh,
in 2019. So
is it 7 years? Why did
yes.
I think it was recently?
No, most people don't actually
Oh,
count
it's
anything
7 years.
COVID.
Oh.
2020 to like 2023 is somehow taken out of our calendars,
Yes, it's true. Okay, tell us, Trish. Anyone you remember is fine.
Yeah, so I mean, it's fine. I think from the commercial banking part, you have got to be very solid in terms of your numbers. You need to be on top of your numbers. You need to know what the numbers are saying, and you need to know your customers. In addition to that, you also need to be a business person in terms of business solutions. You need to know how to run businesses, at least basically, right? Basic things about businesses and things like that. But from the treasury perspective, again, I think what is very important again is to know your figures and know your position. At every point in time, you're dealing with balances.
Mm.
Imagine if I have to pay $1 million in payment and I'm now having to write that into an account that has maybe just $100,000. That's going to be a problem. So at every
Yeah.
point in time, you must be able to know your figures. And secondly, I would say is that you also have a very solid grip on risk management. Yeah. You want to make sure that what you're doing is right in terms of the transactions you're going into. You also know that everything there that you can see in terms of financial risks, you can find mitigant for as much as you can.
Yeah.
Another thing is I would say is maybe it's nice to have, but just have some compliance law kind of background, right? Knowledge. So you know that you cannot pay somebody, maybe in Nigeria, you can't just pay someone in dollars when you
Yeah.
are going against a provision of CBN circular, things like that. Other than that, I think coming from accounting background is excellent. It just gives you that knowledge that okay, I am having some sort of receivables, and if my treasury accountant is going to book that, I know
Mm.
I have an idea of where it's going
What
to
to
be,
do.
and by the time I have a payable, I also know where that is coming from. So those kind of things help a lot. But I believe it's something that anybody from any background can actually learn. Soft skills, you must be very good with people because it's basically more or less like a negotiation thing. You are
Mm.
speaking to banks, you're asking them to give you facilities, you are reviewing, you are saying, I'll take this price and I'll not take this. There's pushing back, you're pushing back. So you need to have that. In addition to that, you also need to be able to be very good at team playing, right? These days, you do a lot of collaboration. The guys in tax, the people in project accounting, and things like that. So I would say those are the critical things, but what is most important, I always tell people is that you should be able to have an open mind and should be able to learn and drop things that don't work as you move into your career.
Thank you so much. This morning I had a call with my consultants, and I had the call with the manager on the engagement, and I wasn't certain that what he was saying was right, but I couldn't pick like what was wrong in what he was saying. It was making sense, but something felt off. So I had reached out to a peer, a colleague in another company and within the tax community, and she had
Yeah.
given me her opinion. And this morning, I had the opportunity to sit with the partner, and I was just dissecting, like, this is what your person told me. This is what I've gained from my own research, but I just feel like something is off. And eventually, we're able to resolve it. And that came to me was having a curiosity mindset, because I could just have taken what the manager told me and just be like, oh, it's their job. They are the masters. They are closer to the tax authority. They know the tax law word for word. But because I probed further, I was finally able to get the answer that I was looking for. And we all thought through it. And eventually, my curiosity led them to go and do some further digging, right? uh, at whatever stage you are in your career, it's really important that you do not stop learning. You do not stop asking questions. You do not stop being curious. Like, you continue to feed that curiosity, because that's what will help you grow ultimately. The next
No,
question I'm going
absolutely.
to, yeah. Do you need a CFA to be in Treasury? What do you think?
Very interesting. I think um, that's very interesting. You may not need it, but it's very interesting. I mean, CFA, I would always say I think it's the gold standard in finance, actually,
Yeah.
not just in investment management. I think it's the gold standard in actually the entire finance part. Having said that, back in 2018 or so, all right, I that was when I registered for the CFA, and I mean by then I qualified in 2016 or 15 thereabouts in a can. So I thought maybe the next thing is let me just go for the CFA. I did it, collected all the materials, but there wasn't a study center it wasn't a exam center, a test center in Nigeria at the time.
Yeah.
One had to go to Ghana or some other countries, and I just felt, I mean, I was not just there, right? Honestly, in terms of my finances and things like that, I couldn't afford it, and I felt there's really no need. Whatever I need to do, I'll just learn it. And I felt I was also doing okay on my job at the time in terms of my banking job. I was quite good at it, and they kept saying I was fine with that, and I felt it was okay. So I would say you don't need it. Obviously, I do not have the CFA. I'm doing Treasury, and I've gotten other opportunities to move into investment management at top
Wow.
investment banks. But I would say it's an excellent qualification to have. Any young person that can get it, I think they should work towards that. There are other certifications in Treasury, like the CTP,
I've
is
never heard of that.
important.
Is that new?
Certified Treasury Pro.
Oh,
Sorry?
wow. I've never heard of that.
No, it is. It's actually, it is. There are things like that. But I mean, if
Interesting.
something is not within your domain, you don't really want to bother yourself. I mean, again, some of these things that we keep gathering at certain level in your career, they no longer play any significant
Yes.
importance, you know? It's just you who you know what you're able to do on the job and things like that. So even having said that, I think the CFA almost every year I keep saying maybe I should just go and do the CFA. And the fact that I have a lot of friends in the CFA Nigeria society, it doesn't help. So most of my friends are charter holders, and some of them are writing exam. And whenever the result is out, I've passed my level one, I've passed my. I'm like, "Ah, I mean, are you sure you won't do it?" But I've been doing this for the last 8 years, so it's not likely that I would ever write it.
Okay, good to know that none like the fact that someone does not have a CFE does not mean that they cannot still succeed in a career path, even though it helps. Like there are other ways you can pick up the skills. And also with all these certifications, it costs money, apart from money to write the exam,
It
to
does. I
sustain
mean,
your membership.
it does. Honestly, it
To
does.
sustain your membership costs money. So make sure that you're thinking about the certification you really need and you're not just packing. Some people just like to have all those letters behind their names.
Yeah, but even what is even very important is for young people to know what they want early, all
Yes.
right, and have the guidance to go into the careers that they want. I think when you have that, it helps you streamline all these things that you do not need. You don't need to pick them. I mean, my career was just the way I hear from school. Everything was almost by accident. I just find myself doing this, and there wasn't anything intentionality there. It wasn't like, okay, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do, kind of thing. There wasn't really proper guidance. So along the line, one was just picking things that were completely unnecessary, right?
Yeah.
If I knew the CFA was that important, I probably would have started it right from maybe when I just finished school, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't have that guidance. I mean, but
Mm,
thank God where I am, and I think the young people can learn from our experiences
yes.
to know that this is what they need to do. You don't need to take things that may not be necessary to achieve your goal, really.
Thank you, Aminu. So I like to ask this next question because I want people to know that there is no career path that is a smooth sailing ride. No matter the beautiful CV that you see, there have been challenges and setbacks along the way. So, what were some of your challenges and how did you overcome them?
Every time you see a beautiful story, there is always a lot of lesson behind it, right? And tough things. When I had just gotten married, as you may know, some of us from the north get married a little bit early. As I just got married was when I joined GT Bank. I joined GT Bank 2 weeks after my marriage, and it was very demanding. Like 7 o'clock, I mean 7 p.m. were times that you would start doing your job and we'll be there till like 9, writing
Wow.
things. And the next morning you're back again at 7:30. It was really difficult. And by the time my appraisal came after 6 months, it was not really good. It wasn't good because I was already tired. I felt I was just going to resign, be with my wife, but I mean, I couldn't take care of her with nothing. So I had to share somehow stayed. Some of the biggest challenges I encountered at that point was even having to acclimatize because it's an environment that places so much emphasis on what you know, how you apply it to your work, right? So at the time, if you didn't know anything, little smaller boys would be ready to challenge you.
Right.
So I practically had to start learning. That and then after that, another thing is I must admit I am kind of introvert. I have not always been outspoken. I've always been a very shy Fulani guy on the background and things like that. But having to go out to face people to tell them about the bank and its product and explain and do things like that, it was very my boss had to practically force me. She was excellent person. I mean, she would always say, "This is not personal, but you must do it."
Mm.
And having to present, I also didn't think I have good presentation skill, even though people said I tried, but it was something that I also found very challenging, standing in front of people to talk to them, convince them why we had to do something as a bank. It was a little bit difficult. And as if that wasn't enough, I now basically just transit between Abuja and Lagos. So
Wow.
my office is in Lagos somewhat, and then my family is in Abuja. So I like practically transit bi-weekly, monthly kind of thing. And I have this massive aerophobia, man. I fly, I say all my prayers. I tell everybody everything about myself just so that I'm going to go. And
That's so funny.
I mean, I do this maybe 20 times a year and I never ever get settled. That is the kind of challenge that one has to face just to get to one's goal, you know? So, I mean, all these things, honestly, they are challenges that are not written on one's CV. You don't see anywhere that where you write all of this. In addition to times when you know very well that you are supposed to be promoted somehow, somewhere, someone said, sorry, you can't be promoted now, and you have to take it, you know? So things like that are things that I would say bring out the very best in a true professional, right? You know that there's basically very little thing that is easy in life. You have to
Yes.
just continuously push and be as strong, as resilient as possible.
Amazing. I'm glad that we talked about that because, like you said, every beautiful story, there are always thorns somewhere, and that's what blossoms into the beautiful story. But you're not doing badly, I must say. You're a good presenter. I love your calmness. So I'm sure you have
Oh,
overcome all those things now. So, in terms of misconceptions, I'm sure you've heard some misconceptions about your career journey, being a treasury. I know people always say, people in treasury, they're always packing the money. They just pack the money, you know. What are some common misconceptions that you've heard about your career path? Being a banker and now in treasury.
yeah, I think you said it. One of the most serious misconception is the fact that when you're in treasury, you're actually just swimming in money, right? People just say, every time I step out, that's him there. Please hold him. When are you getting this? So I mean that's a very serious one. And even in the banking sector, there's something that they used to say. I don't know if they still say it, that bankers are paid armed robber salaries, right? People think that you get these millions in terms of pay, but I'm not really sure. I think bankers are not really paid that well anyway. So,
No,
but
the argument on Twitter is contrary to this. Bankers are making money these days. That's what they keep saying. So,
no, I mean, it's possible, but you and I know that, I mean, there are other places that it's completely out of this world. And I'm sure this is not the talk for it. I'm sure there will be other sides where this will be discussed extensively. But on a more serious note, I think one of the biggest misconception is that you have to be an accountant to be in treasury or to even be somewhere in accounting. I think the great thing about accounting is that it actually just democratizes career, right?
Mhm.
The entire aspect of accounting, I would just say almost anybody can just join it anywhere. Someone joined my team sometime last year. The person has left now, and he had a background in maths, right? This person was a chartered accountant. Today, even the person that leads one of the biggest banks in Nigeria actually has a pharmacy background. So some of these things are purely like I would say serious misconceptions that don't hold any water. I think the most important thing, like we discussed earlier, is that one should be able to have a mindset that is accommodating. One should be very curious and also have this growth mindset at the back of your mind that, I mean, you're open to learning at every point in time. The moment you have that,
Yeah.
I think a lot of these things you will learn them and you'll find them very easy.
Thank you so much. Our profession is very welcoming. We
It
accept
is.
everybody irrespective of your background. So whether you're watching this and you didn't study accounting, because I'm always seeing all the arguments, I studied fishery, what would I do? You can be an accountant.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
can be an accountant irrespective of your background. So, Treasury AI and AI in terms of evolving the profession. What are your thoughts around that? How do you think AI is going to shape the profession
Honestly,
and in
I don't know if
specifically?
I'm being naive or I'm being too welcoming or too open-minded, but I think one of the best thing that has happened to profession is actually AI. I mean, development of AI. I remember some month back or weeks, I DM'd you. I was like, okay, how do I even learn this? I need to do this agent something and give a guidance on doing that with Copilot. So I think honestly, if you look at AI, what AI is doing is just something out of this world. I continuously just learn and see that it has just improved us significantly. Look at automation, for instance. I this morning I was trying to run a report that my colleague had done, and I felt the outlook just wasn't okay. And I went to my Excel at work, opened it, and used the Copilot plugin. I was like, okay, do a CFO one-pager report on this.
Wow.
And the output was except it was just something lovely.
Wow.
And I just liked it. And by the time I saw that, I just told my colleague that, see, you need to go and learn this and find a way to make your work very easy. So, in terms of that, I think AI is really helping people to become more knowledgeable and aware of how things are done. Of course, there are concerns that
Yeah.
AI will take our jobs. Maybe they will in the next few years. I don't know. Probably I would have retired by then. But I think what happens these days is that AI is more or less like a that you use
Yeah.
to enhance your productivity. Think about it this way, right? All the airplanes that we enter and the most advanced cars, they either have autopilot or they have auto run, right?
Hmm.
Um, I'm sure it's done that you just fly plane from Lagos to Abuja completely on autopilot. It's
Yeah.
best that you have a pilot sitting by the side and then watching how things unfold and things like that.
Hmm.
So I think that's why the AI human relationship is at the moment. Maybe in the next few years, AI may displace us. I don't know how that would play, but I that it's now a great thing to use to enhance our productivity. And one of the easiest thing that it does these days is even help you. I mean, for us, I got some proposal last month to enter some forward contracts. I mean, sell currencies in the future. right? And it was like 10 pages. I just didn't have the time to start reviewing and taking note and things like that. I just took out the sensitive part and dumped the whole thing into Claude and was like, just come out with pros, cons, and tell me the next line of action. And he did an excellent job. So for me, I would say when you look at things like that, AI is just helping. The only thing is, so far, I'm trying to manage the information, not to let my own boss know, because there is a report, for instance, that I do on currencies. So for every month, we'll do a report to run how we sell our currencies, rates, and what we've gotten, and things like that. You have a very tiny Copilot agent that you do, and at every point you do, all you need to do is download the statement where you do it, feed it into Copilot, and tell it to generate the report. And within a matter of seconds, everything is done.
Yeah.
From that perspective, I'm not having to waste the whole day just trying to do one report. So I would say so far, so good. Concerns are there, but not in the immediate future, in my view.
Thank you so much for reinforcing the fact that AI is something to help us become better,
I
more
think so.
productive,
I think so.
and it saves you time and enables you to channel your most productive time into what really matters. When we're starting our career, you had no choice. One day, you are still feeding the Excel. You are still
Yes,
thinking, what would this report look like? Asking for templates. Please, is there a template? If someone says there's no template, you have to think about the template, what it will look like. God bless you if your
yes,
boss does not like it. You go and start all over again. Now, with
yes.
a prompt, you can just fix it and everything is bam, bam, bam. Today I was doing my end performance review, and we have co-pilot co-work, which is kind of like an advanced agent. And I just told co-pilot co-work to go through my emails, my chats, my meeting, my calendar, and give me 5 solid points that I can just copy and paste as my performance review. And I'm not
It's
joking. Amazing.
wow.
Even though I had to still tweak some things because he exaggerated some things,
Yeah.
you know. I was like, wow, this is amazing. Before I would have sat down, racking my brain, trying to remember, what did I work on? I know I've been busy this year, but what did I really use my time for? And just now with a prompt, I'm done, in like a
You're
matter
right.
of minutes.
Last towards the end of the year, I was in Port Harcourt for a meeting with some regulators, right? And unfortunately, I forgot to take notes on that meeting.
Hmm.
Somehow, I thought I was actually recording it on my phone and just summarize it later, but I didn't. By the end of the meeting, I went to my notes and I didn't see anything. I was like, wow. So I took the invite. Usually, I like using your manual note taking with pens and things like that. I just took the invite and jotted some things on my notebook, physical. With that notebook and the invite, I just did that with a prompt and a call memo or a memo report kind of what had happened at the meeting came out. And
Wow.
it was super. By the time I submitted it, the my boss was just like, "This is excellent. I mean, we people don't do this. You did this. This is very good.
Mm,
Things like that." So I think from that perspective, I honestly think that AI is our productivity partner for
yes.
now. Maybe things
Yes.
will get different turn, but in the future. But I think for now, it's a great productivity partner.
Thank you so much, Aminu. We are finally coming to the end of this conversation, and it's been very eye-opening. Thank you so much for your openness and your vulnerability in sharing, your career journey. So someone is watching this and they want to be like you. They are in the bank, maybe they are a teller because that was the only job they got. Or they desired to work in a bank, but somehow the graduate training tests were too difficult, they couldn't pass, and they are giving up. Like, what will my career journey look like? What would be your advice to for the person watching?
Wow. I would first of all say that I wish that person is able to be better than I do, because before I could get into one of the banks, I took like 3 tests in 3 different banks. So I pray that the person actually nails theirs maybe at first attempt, right? I would say that honestly, sometimes some of these things is just being, I mean, averagely okay. Just I like to say averagely okay because a lot of people are not averagely okay. A lot of people are actually poor. Just do things done. Just try to work on yourself, try to develop yourself, try to reach out. I always say that try to be a person of value, try to add value wherever you are. And again, take your studies and your networking very seriously, right? And finally, sometimes it's just a numbers game. Sometimes you just need to be there as many times as possible, and then these things will just happen. Sometimes it's not anything rocket science, even though maybe a bit difficult. They say delay is not denial, so you to just keep trying, and you will get it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Aminu. I've had an amazing time speaking to you. You guys, in case you're watching, Aminu's LinkedIn, a link to his LinkedIn will be in the description. In case you want to connect with him, please be nice. He's a busy man. Don't stress him and be respectful while at it. Thank you so much, Aminu. It's been an amazing
Thank you,
time speaking.
Aramide. Thank you.
Uh,
It has been my pleasure and it's been great having to be on the platform. Thanks.
have a great rest of your evening.
And you too. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.